Hello, this is Budoor Abdullah. Today I'll be talking about cultural appropriation and we'll dive more into it. I will briefly define it and will set some of examples of one of the cultural appropriation from other cultures. Cultural appropriation is the adoption of certain elements by members of another culture. This practice can be dangerous when members of the knowledge gain dominance over elements of minority cultures. It is considered anti-cultural and harmful to the whole body, and its representation of minority cultures, especially indigenous heritage living under colonial rule, often deliberately avoided when encountering multiple cultures. This includes the cultural and religious use of other cultures, customs, symbols, language, and music. The phrase cultural appropriation, which gained popularity in the 1980s when it was initially used in academic settings to talk about colonialism and the dynamics between majority and minority populations. Although the idea of cultural colonialism had been studied previously, however, the phrase gained widespread usage in debates of post-colonial critiques of Western expansionism that year. Because the original meaning of these cultural objects is sometimes lost or altered, members of the indigenous community often view this as disrespectful, or even as kind of discretion. People from the dominant culture may reduce cultural artifacts that are extremely important to the original culture to little more than toys or simple customs. Greg Tate is an African-American scholar, performer, and journalist who argues that alienation is the true result of appropriated cultures. The analysis of other cultures' iconography serves as a foundation for general types of cultural appropriation. Examples of cultural appropriation include the use of Native American tribal names by sport teams, the wearing of jewelry with religious symbols like the Christian cross despite having no particular faith, and tattoos, tribal icons, or celtic bands by individuals who are unaware of or do not care to acknowledge the significance of the Native American culture. Relatives of indigenous culture traditions may be offended when these artifacts are dismissed as just decorative items or when they are mass-produced as consumer goods. Indigenous artists in Australia have talked about creating a brand of authenticity to alert buyers to work of art that make unfounded claims about its relevance and lack of genuine relationship to indigenous people. The commercialization of yoga is another instance of cultural appropriation. Indian traditions view yoga as spiritual activity. In the West, yoga is promoted as a method of physical training. Because of its sale as a commodity, its values or spiritual practices have been virtually lost. Sad to say, there is lack of representation for Indian and South Asian yoga populations in the modern Western yoga scene, whether it comes to studios, publications, on-demand streaming, attire, and accreditation boards. There are millions of Indians, South Asians, and persons of Indian and South Asian heritage living in the West, but very few of them truly frequent yoga studios, and a fraction return that is much smaller or considered practice. It is crucial to realize that the cultural admiration or appreciation and appropriation are two different things. To be appreciative is to make an effort to learn about and comprehend other culture in order to extend one's horizon and establish cross-cultural relationships. But on the other side, appropriation is the act of adopting a single facet of non-selfish culture and applying it to further your own agenda. As an example for cultural appreciation, let's say that while visiting China, you pick up a tasty recipe from your hosts. You prepare the same meal for your loved ones at home and discuss the distinctions between the Chinese food you experienced on your trip and, for example, the American versions. In addition to that, another example is You can receive an invitation to a Muslim wedding, so you look up conventional wedding customs to see what to wear and to anticipate. You carry a scarf and cover your head to demonstrate respect for the other people there, based on your study you made. Thank you for listening.